This is TWiT.
It wasn't so long ago we heard that Google Assistant sends its voice recordings to contractors for review, that Amazon's Echo sends its recordings to contractors for review. That's
the news again today for the same thing because we don't remember.
Yeah. Siri does it too, and Apple's the latest in the crosshairs. The thing that's a problem with all three of these devices is not so much when you say hey Shlomo and ask it something, is it that when it's triggered by accident. And according to Ars Technica, Siri has recorded fights between people, business deals, criminal dealings, sexual encounters, and so on. This is a leaker. There have been countless instances of recordings featuring private discussions between doctors and patients. And because that's what happens with these things. Apple's response is, well, fewer than 1% of activations are reviewed. We have confidentiality requirements for the contract workers who get those recordings. We listen to them in a secure environment. And frankly, this is how all of these voice assistants work. They have to work that way if you want the technology.
The fascinating thing for me is that Bloomberg reported this back in April when they reported. They had a big paragraph saying Apple also does this, blah 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 blah. Google also does this, blah 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 blah.
Nobody noticed,
but nobody reacted. But then the Guardian runs the story. They put sex in the headline, and it's after those privacy billboards that Andy mentioned.
That's the key.
And now it's like those two sex and you put up those billboards, boom.
That's the key. Anything to be worried about with this? Obviously, if you don't want this to happen, you shouldn't have any of these devices.
They should they should make it opt-in. I'm loath to say Setup Buddy should get more complicated than it already is. That's the thing that you go through when you set up a new iPhone. But on the Siri page, it should say we send 1% of our conversations to human. Well, first, I don't think they should be contractors. Again, easy for me to say because I'm not in charge of hiring practices at Apple, but I don't think it should ever be done by contractors, only by actual employees of the company, because that's how you prove accountability. And if you can get humans out of all but the most extreme cases by just using all that machine learning, that's even better. Minimize the scope of what they have to do as much as possible, and then disclose it on Setup Buddy. When you set up Yo Jimbo, just have a thing saying 0.1% of these are sent to humans to improve the quality of our service, and then have you hit that button so that nobody has to go digging through white papers or terms of service or anything, and they're absolutely clear about what's happening with their data. And if they don't want it, just opt them out of the analytics and keep going.
Yeah.
I also think it would be really smart for Apple to include some sort of mute Shlomo button.
There is a mute button on most Echo and Google devices.
Right on top of the speaker. It's a nice big button that you just push, and then you have this big red ring that reminds you that it's muted. And if Apple had that on all of its devices, something that's right to the forefront and it's very easy to access, even in control center, something really easy to access so that you could just, I know that I'm not going to be using my personal assistant for the next 4 hours, so I'm going to mute it. And then you can mute and unmute it as you see fit. I think that would be like a huge relief, and it would make a lot of people feel better knowing that they have more control over when that digital assistant is listening in. I have two HomePods in my living room that I constantly accidentally trigger. And I watch enough horror movies that when I was reading this, I thought, he probably thinks that I'm a murderer because they probably hear a lot of screaming in my house all the time.
Yeah, I'm not bothered by the fact that the AI has to be backed up by human ears. The only time this becomes a really big concern is when you have stories coming out that the contractors that are outside contractors being used for this are abusing access to these recordings. Like they have the ability to carry some of these recordings away, or they have the ability to do a little bit of freelance work and find out who is listening to this sort of stuff.
Media organizations.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't. And the only other problem is that once law enforcement finds out that it's possible that maybe there was an open mic in this person's house for any length of time, that they might be able to subpoena a company saying that we want any voice recordings you might have from any active assistant device that might be owned in any of the following 5 homes that are associated with our suspect or this person of interest. And that's why a company like Apple needs to be in position to say we don't have that information, because we either we destroy 99% of all the recordings we make, and the ones that we actually keep, we destroy all the identifiable information. So sorry, we will give you all the recordings we have. Here they are. Just wave your fingers saying, "Yep, there you go."